Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome back. This is Paola Guthrie from Creating Purpose with Pao. I welcome you to the Spanglish World Network and Heart Network on Single TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download Single TV on the respective app stores. When you download it, please rate it. Please let me know how I'm doing my job. And you can find, Zingo TV on Google Chromecast, on Amazon Fire TV Stick, Roku Stick, and all smart TVs from 2016 and forward. Like I said, I appreciate you so much for being here today. Welcome back. If you're new to tuning us, you're gonna have so much fun because today we have a great content. We have a special guest. Her name is Sharon Grant. She is the CEO of Oasis of Serenity, her consulting and coaching business. She has been a counselor for about 14 years, and I am so grateful and joyful to have you in the house today. Thank you for being here, Sharon.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here, Paola.
Yes. So let's dive into this beautiful conversation of how to improve our relationship, how to improve our marriage. So, when love is not enough, what is? And this is one of the questions that came from social media.
Okay, great. So we have to remember that love is an emotion. In itself, love is just an emotion. It's a strong attraction. It's a deep, sincere care and concern for the other person, right? So in our marriages, we need more than just that emotion of love. We need action of love, right? So how do we demonstrate that we love someone is what we're looking at. And so some of the things that I think are important to demonstrate that love would be acceptance, um, overall having open communication, commitment to the relationship itself, whether it be commitment to a relationship, compromise, empathy, being able to see things from the other person's perspective, looking for the win-win, being selfless and not selfish, having a shared vision, shared values of things you're trying to achieve, making sure you're moving in the same direction. That is showing action in love, being supportive of the other person, what their aspirations are, affirming them. So it's not just enough to have the emotion of I love you, but demonstrating I
Okay.
love you and I'm showing you how I love you.
Okay. So whenever we cross that, that stage in our marriage that we don't see eye to eye, when we don't see that or feel, the emotion anymore.
Uh-huh.
So we have to be strategically then and take action.
Yeah.
That's what you're
Right.
writing. Then commitment is number one, right? Because a lot
Yes.
of people marriages who are lasting and have lasted is because I that's what I keep hearing is like you're
Mhm.
committed to it. It's a commitment.
Yes, I'm committed to this covenant that we agreed upon.
Compromise.
Yeah.
Try to find our middle point where it's like we're both happy. We're not all, we're not sacrificing.
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know, like if we're talking about making a new purchase, like compromise one another, where we both are going to be happy with this new transaction that we're about to make. I don't know. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Do you have another example of compromise?
Well, compromise is just knowing that I may not always get what I want. And then sometimes I'm willing to yield for you to get what you want and vice versa. So that we're both feeling like we're valued in the relationship because it's not just me always giving or you always taking. It's us mutually agreeing to sometimes give in to what the other person is looking for when we can't agree. That's
Okay, that's
harmony in the relationship.
harmony. Yes, I love that word. Yeah, it brings harmony then when we compromise,
Yeah.
have find the middle ground for both of us then.
Mhm.
And yeah, empathy, I agree with that. It's like we have to show,
Mhm.
the empathy that we care,
Yeah.
that we're committed with empathy, not just committed because it's we're doing it for the children, but it's like we're committed with empathy because we want to grow and create stronger bonds.
Right. So, with the empathy, it's me being able to see your position and you being able to see my position where I'm coming from. And coming from that place of understanding, will help us to be able to better connect and resolve things when things come up.
Yeah, I love that, from a place of understanding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that takes maturity.
Yes, it does.
After 19 years, is like, I can tell you that is like it has taken a few years.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Uh, but yes, yeah, place of understanding. I'm taking notes. I hope all of you are taking notes as well. Uh, yes, it's a place of
Mm-hmm.
understanding, which
Mm-hmm.
that's we're practicing empathy when we do that.
Yep.
Share a vision. I love that. Where are we heading in a year
Yes.
or 6 months?
We want to make sure that we have a shared vision of where we desire to go in our marriage. The scripture talks about people without a vision, they perish. You got to be able to write the vision out, right? Make it plain so the other person can run forth with it. And so in our marriages, we write the vision out. It's a shared vision. We both agree on this vision. We make it plain so that either one of us understands it enough to carry it forward. And we're trying to do that together.
Yeah, and now you give me an idea. Also, it's like we share a vision of how our family looks like when
Oh,
our
yeah.
kids are all grown. Like,
Yes. All of
and,
that.
and work towards that. Like, sometimes we have it doesn't happen every month. It probably should, but it's like every 3 months we sit down to all five on the table,
Yes.
and we ask, how are we doing? How
Hmm.
can we do better?
Right. Uh-huh. You're doing like a check-in. Yes.
Yes, and of course our youngest one is 5.
Hmm.
So she plays, but we take in consideration our 17-year-old and our 11-year-old, and it's like, what can we do to get some, become more closer? What can we do to have fun? What do you think a family should be like? And
Right.
it's neat. And I take notes, like right now I'm
Mhm.
taking notes. So I take notes to compare to the
Mhm.
next time. And it's like, okay, what fun activities did we get to do on the past
Right.
uh 3 months or so? So
Yeah. But you're also teaching them that you value them, their opinion matters, you're part of this family, and you have say so. So
yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. Thank you. But this is beautiful. Yeah. And as we can also share a vision, not
Yeah.
just with our as a marriage, but also with our kids.
Yep. The family. Hmm.
And here we go. It was like share values. Where are we at?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love it. And support it. Show support.
Right. And that shared value may take some time to work together on that because, we're two different individuals. Although we are married and we're one, we're two different individuals. So we bring our own view of what we see for the marriage. So we got to be able to make sure that we are working together and coming up with that shared vision as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Now that you mentioned that shared vision, let me tell our audience a little bit that you are the co-author of this beautiful book that is called Couples Determine Make Marriage Great. So
Yes.
in this story,
Hmm.
Sharon and her husband
Yes.
share how they survive. How can I explain this? Um, how do you go? Like, how you guys went to the next level? Can I say that?
Yes. How we move forward despite tragedy.
Yes, despite tragedy. And so, in one of the part of the story that Sharon shares,
Hmm.
you share that share values are important. And now that you talk about this, is like your husband, one of his values was respect.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm pretty sure respect is one of your values as well. But
Hmm.
we also experience that value. Like, to us, to him, respect was, you have to be uh talk nice to your mom, right?
Right.
To him, like, he valued that, like the relationship with the mom, the way he talked to his mom,
Right.
that was that spoke to him the most, like the
Yes.
respect between a son and a mom.
Right.
And maybe for us could be that respect is, you pick up your dishes after you eat. Maybe
Right.
you pick up your clothes, like, so we have different definitions
Hmm.
of our values.
Right.
So it would be like great for our viewers right now to begin to think, okay, if this is what respect looks to me, that's how I feel like my kid is respecting me. But my husband, for my husband, might be a different way.
Right.
to experience respect.
Hmm.
So I would love for our audience to begin to think, what are the core values that you live by,
Yeah.
and what are the definition that you give to those core values? Because most likely our husband, your spouse,
Hmm.
might share the same core values, but may have different definition of it.
Right. And so that opens a great dialogue for us to communicate and have open communication about what that is, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And instead of having those moments where it's like you get upset because he talked to, the kid a certain way, and you're like, but that's not, like you seen these things different.
Hmm.
So also the way we function as a family, like the way I treat my children and the way he treats our own children,
Right. Right.
sometimes there is friction.
Hmm.
And it would be lovely for a beautiful audience to begin to express,
Hmm.
like, okay, this is what respect looks like to me. This is what love looks like to me. This is what hope looks like to me, or faith looks like
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
So whenever we know our partner's definition, then we can work as a team to
Hmm.
solve whatever issue we're having at this time.
Yes, that's exactly right. The team approach. That's.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. So
Yeah.
thank you for bringing this up, because I know I struggle with it
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
my marriage until we.
I think what caused the struggle too, though, is that we feel like our perspective, our way of viewing it is the way. Like that is the way you got to view it, and
Yes.
that's not correct. We can have our own perspective. We have our own minds, our own experiences, our own upbringing that's been different from the other person. So it's okay if we have two different ways of viewing things. It's okay. It's not a right or wrong. It's just different, right?
Yeah. 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 I mean, I grew up in a different country than my husband did. So,
Mhm.
like combining,
Yeah. Yeah.
combining the two different cultures, it's been good, but it hasn't been like, oh, a piece of cake. But one of the things that it truly helped us blend even better or
Mhm.
create stronger bonds was learning the definitions of our core values.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
So how can we foster a better communication in our relationship? And this was another question as well from social media.
I tell you, social media is on it, right? They're doing some great questions. So we have to be willing to share what our needs are. Assertive communications, being able to ask for what you need out of the relationship. That's the first part of open communication, being able to ask for what you want. So oftentimes we want our spouses to read our mind, or they should know, right?
Uh,
You
yeah.
didn't know that? Well, no, they did not know that. So it's my responsibility to communicate to my spouse what my needs are, set them up for success. This is what I need. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm asking for, so they can know. Look for the win wins as much as possible. Create an environment. This is very important. Create an environment where your spouse feels comfortable coming to talk to you, right? Sometimes we have to examine when our spouse bring things to us, how do we respond? Do we get angry? Do we shut them down? Do we yell? Do we storm out the room? All those things can prevent your spouse from coming to talk to you. So you got to make sure that that environment is set to where you are open to receive and your spouse knows that I'm open to hear what you have to say. So set the environment.
Yeah.
We mentioned this before. You want to say something?
Well, it just, yes. I was going to share, with our beautiful audience, if you're about to take this new step, if you're about to set the environment where it's usually been a hostile environment in the past, if he wants to, usually comes and wants to share something with you, and you automatically, maybe you already have a taught behavior that you
Uh-huh.
automatically react.
Yeah.
Uh, know that it might take a little bit, because if he's not used to having, or she's not used to having this environment to express what he or she has to talk to you about, it might take a little bit of practice,
Yeah.
for them to trust you that there is a safe space. So I just
Yes.
wanted, that's something that popped into my mind because sometimes we already have a type behavior that we
Hmm.
automatically, overreact or
Hmm.
react to that conversation, and
Hmm.
maybe he doesn't feel safe or she doesn't feel safe to open up truly
Hmm.
because past experience. So know that it takes practice to get to that level, just from experience.
Yeah, and with you, you made a good point. You said something from the past, right, could cause you to respond a certain way. That's insight, and that's insight you definitely want to share with your spouse. That hey, this brought up something from me that reminds me of something from the past, so they'll know the context of where you're coming from, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yes. And here another one
Yeah.
that you just mentioned. What I am trying to communicate with my husband,
Uh-huh.
because the brain of the male is wired differently. So they usually try to fix the problem right away and try to give you ideas of how to solve the issue. And
Mhm.
sometimes, as women, we just want to be heard.
Right.
So I say, just listen to me, and I do it kindly now. But
Uh-huh.
before, like, I would just close my mind and I would just not share.
Yeah.
As we are growing and we're maturing,
Hmm.
now is like when I have something to share and he tries to fix the issue, then I was like, just listen to me, please, just listen to me. I'm almost done. So
Uh-huh.
it's like we're educating each other through our journey of marriage. It's not perfect, but we're
That's
learning.
exactly right. You're teaching him how you want him to treat you. I have a similar story, real quick. I was in the kitchen one day and I was upset about something. I can't remember, but it was to the point where I was crying. And so my husband came in. He said, "What's going on with you?" And I start telling him, and midway through me telling him, he said, "Well, you should do this, 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 this." And I said, I said, let me finish crying. Let me just get it out. Let me finish.
Yeah,
Tell me what I need to do. And he respected that. And I said, I need a
yeah,
hug right now. So he came and gave me a hug. So
yeah,
they are fixers, and that's a good quality to have. But we have to help them to see when is the time to fix. Like right now may not be the time to fix it just yet. Let me kind of, I'm a counselor. Let me get it out first before you try to fix it. But he had
yeah.
very
And
good intentions.
yeah, yes, because they're fixers, that's their mind. They just, yeah, and they're trying to help. Sometimes they're not, like they're not helping. So we have to let them know. It's like, just listen to me. I just want someone to listen to me right now.
Mhm. Yep, yep, yep,
And always with that love and compassion, because you guys, we're all learning. I'm still
yep.
in this journey.
Oh yeah.
And I know we have so much to learn because our kids are growing and new stages are arriving. So,
That's
yes.
good. Yeah.
So I know you also do counseling, pre-marriage counseling, which I think it's amazing.
Hmm.
So this is another question from social media. What is the purpose of dating?
Well, so that's up to the individual. So some people may date because they want to have fun, they want to be social. Some people date because they want to get familiar, to get kind of know the person, feel them out. So it depends on what your reason is for dating. Now, um, my thought process is, and this is what I did when I met my husband. I dated with a purpose. So I knew when we started dating that I eventually wanted to get married. So I knew that. So this whole dating was for me to get to know him, to see if he, cut the mustard. Is he going to be, does he have the qualities that I'm looking for in a mate? So I was dating with a purpose to get to know him. But it really depends on the individual as to why they are dating. It's important to get to know the person, to know if this is going to be a platonic relationship, or is this going to be something more substantial, a romantic relationship. Hmm.
And how important is for uh, all of our beautiful people who are watching us right now to good to like who's thinking about to get married?
Yeah.
So how important is pre-marriage counseling?
It's very important. And there are times that I get people who will call, they're dating, they want to get engaged. They're not even engaged yet. They're wanting to get engaged. So that comes, I
Oh,
realize something about my partner I don't really like, right? And I want to talk about it. I love it. Like that is the best thing ever. Before we even make a commitment to each other to be engaged or get married, we kind of see some things, some red flags we want to kind of talk about with somebody else, like a mediator. So I think it's very important to do premarital counseling because, and you should also start maybe about 9 months before the actual wedding date, roughly. And the reason why is if something comes up that you need to address, kind of massage a little bit, kind of work through, it gives you enough time. Premarital counseling cannot be a check box. Like I got my dress, check. Premarital counseling, check. It is so much more serious than that. You're making a commitment and hopefully a lifetime commitment to this person. It's a huge decision that you don't want to make, just make it haphazardly. So you want to take the time to get involved in premarital counseling so you can see if there's anything you guys need to massage and work through before you actually say I do. It sets you up for success, you know?
Yes, I'm like I didn't have that experience, but like now that I get to know you and I know that's what you do, and I'm like, oh wow, then I know that my children, I can give them that advice. Whereas like it would be wonderful when the time, of course, when the time is right,
Yes.
uh, for them to do that. Just because, like you said, it's setting them up for success. Whoever does it, so it's amazing. It's like,
And I remember when we did our premarital counseling, we done it in a group format, and that was okay. However, we were a blended family. To me, that's a unique situation that we needed to have counseling that addressed that, to kind of massage that a little bit for us. So I think premarital counseling in a group setting is fine, but I believe that you really want to do it as an individual couple because you may have unique issues that need to be addressed and worked on or worked through. It should be individualized.
and you do that, right? You and your husband.
Yes, we my I do, not my husband,
You
just me.
oh, okay, awesome.
So I am a certified preparing and rich facilitator, and that involves an assessment. So you both take the assessment, it's computerized. And the beauty of it is you both take the assessment separately. It gives the results of what your growth areas are and what your strengths are. And so your premarital counseling is geared towards what those identified growth areas are in your relationships. It's very individualized in that
That's
sense.
amazing. That's amazing. Where can we find you, Sharon?
Okay. Well, my website is www.oasisofserenity.net. On Facebook, I am Oasis of Serenity Counseling.
Okay, and I'll make sure to write her website on the description of my YouTube channel. You can go to Paola Guthrie and you can watch this replay. You can share it with anybody that you think might need this information at this time.
Yeah.
So yes, I'll be able to, I'll make sure to do that.
And on the website, there is a free gift. It's called the Marriage Audit, where you can download a helpful guide to help you with communicating, and assessing the patterns in your relationship or your marriage. There's a contact form as well. If you want to send me a message, direct message, you can do that as well.
Awesome. Yes. You guys need to take advantage of this. Because there is always, it's like there is always the next level. Wherever you're at, there is always the next level. One Sharon's story, whenever you read, you have the opportunity to buy the book and read her story. If you don't mind sharing is when you were to the point where it got too stressed out that you wanted to tap out.
Yes.
And your husband is like, no, I'm committed to this. And it's like we all go through those stressful situations where we're like, I'm ready, I'm looking for the exit sign.
Yeah.
And it's just better off if I'm by myself. But no,
Yes.
it's not.
I,
If
I felt very torn, torn between parent, being a mom, and um, being a new wife. I just didn't see in that moment. I could not see beyond that moment, and I needed help to be able to see beyond that moment that I can do both. But I just felt at that moment I felt stuck.
Yeah, so that's why I'm loving having you here, because now our viewers know that there are strategies, there is techniques that has helped me to go to the next level, because it is possible. The stressful moment, we all have the situations where you're like, I don't think I can do it. I don't, I think I had it. But there is always room for that love, that compassion, that empathy, that commitment you were talking about earlier.
Uh-huh.
Where if we just align, we have
That's
time to breathe.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That you mentioned commitment earlier. We needed that commitment to come strong right then, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. And then after that, then you begin to align
Yes.
and begin to see the possibilities that it's better if you stay together. And
Right.
here we go. I have no history of violence in my marriage or
Right.
anything like that. So it's
Yeah.
easier for me to say it.
Hmm.
If you guys are in different situation, seek help.
Right.
Seek help, please, please, please.
And I think the one thing during that time of my difficulty of trying to decide if I was going to stay in the marriage was, um, Emilia was a partner to me. Even though we, in that moment, we didn't see eye to eye, he demonstrated to me that, hey, I got your back. I'm here for you. We can work through this. And it helped me to know that, okay, I can trust him. I can exhale and be safe in this relationship with him. And it's going to be okay. We can get through it. I can't see it right now, but I gotta have faith. We didn't mention faith at any time. Yeah, I needed to have faith to get through the difficulty we're going through.
Yes, and we're all teachable.
Yeah,
It's like we are all teachable, and we can learn to express the empathy, to express the forgiveness, to express there is a phrase that is on your story, the unspoken expectations. Sometimes we have unspoken expectations, and we feel like we shouldn't express them because he should know, because he
right,
should know.
right.
It is like, no, he don't know. He would love to know. Just like I would love to know what he wants for dinner. Sometimes they're like, oh, just fix whatever. No, it would help me. It would help me if you give me ideas.
Hmm.
Same thing, like if we have unspoken expectations,
Yeah,
hoping one day
yeah,
he would do something. It would be so much faster and easier if we have those grounding meetings where it's
yeah.
like, okay, this is what I feel like. This is where I would love to be together in a year, in 5 years. Uh, but yes, anyways, thank you so much for your wisdom. Uh,
Well, it goes back to us being able to express those expectations, what those needs are openly, and not leave it for them to try to figure it out.
yes, I've
Mhm.
done that for years, and I'm like, nope, not anymore. It's like I've learned that it's okay to speak up. It's okay
Oh,
to say like this is what I expect in a loving way, because it goes towards growth.
right.
Like you want a stronger bond in your marriage.
Yeah,
You want it to last longer, and with joy.
yeah. And
Not
once
just
you
go
I was gonna
ahead.
I was gonna say, once you share that expectation or that desire, that need, then your spouse, they, number one, they know, right? But the other part of that is they can decide if they can or cannot meet that need or expectation. You can communicate about that. You want to make
Yes,
sure that your expectations are achievable or attainable for your spouse.
yes, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Now, this is another question from social media.
Uh-huh.
Is people love the idea of falling in love.
Mm-hmm.
How to recognize true love, uh, instead of just following the emotion of like feeling like you're in the clouds, you're in, like seeing the rainbow.
Well, yeah. So, true love to me is, it's lasting. It doesn't, it's unconditional, right? It's not based upon your outward appearance, your possessions, your status, you know, it's not based upon any of those things. If you strip all those things away, would I still feel the same way about you? You know, if you got belly fat, we've been married 10 years now and you be starting to develop belly fat, will I still love you? If you for some reason you're not able to earn the same amount of money that you was when we first got married. We were dating, we got married. Will I still love you? That's why I say it's lasting. It's not, love is consistent. It is selfless. This is talking about true love. It's selfless. Um, to me, those things are demonstrations of true love.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And it's like I've learned about brain health, and one of the pillars of brain health is relationships. So if you keep, like nurturing your relationships, you are working towards keeping your brain healthy because, it's like we want to nurture those relationships, especially the ones with our husband, the ones with our children,
Mhm.
the one people you have around you is like the better relationships you have, the better your brain is
Yes,
going to heal and function.
because you're happy.
Yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yes.
And I'm glad you brought that up about the relationships and the brain health. It is also important to make sure that true love, you're respectful of the other person, right? That's very important. You're valuing that other person's perspective. That's, to me, that's true love. You're not being dismissive of them. Um, I think that's pretty much, yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
much.
When somebody has a comment, somebody comments something about mental health is brain health. Whoever is listening to us is like brain. To me, brain health is mental health. That's what I've learned from Dr. Amen.
Uh-huh.
So part of brain health has to do with your relationship. So that's why we're having this show today. And I so appreciate you, Sharon. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
uh, so
Another one more thing I want to add about this
is
healthy, this real love. It's forgiving.
oh yes.
It's forgiving. It will forgive when someone has offended you or done you wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And then,
go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Well, you said forgiving. Sometimes we have those dividing forces that you
Right.
talk in your story.
Hmm.
And that brought me, I connected with you because sometimes here in our marriage, like with my husband and my marriage is like sometimes we have had those dividing forces, and it has to do with parenting. He might want to parent, has tried to parenting one way, but I'm used to parenting the other way.
Hmm.
So here we go. And expect, I would just be quiet or he would be quiet because he would not agree or I wouldn't agree.
Hmm.
So they are dividing forces that it's better whenever we speak. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
this is how I grew up. This is what I expect. To me, it's not a big deal if
Hmm.
they do that. So it's like find the common ground of
Yes.
what's going to work for the family.
Hmm. Starting with what do we agree on? Starting from that place of agreement, then moving forward.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because when it comes to our children, we all agree we want to raise whole, healthy, respectful children. We can start there and then figure the rest out.
Yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, Here's another question. Please educate us. Could you please educate us about the word passion and how passion is needed in our marriage?
So I did an article in Upscale magazine, and that article was talking about passion in marriage. And so if you think about the definition of passion, it's a strong romantic attraction. It's a strong sexual desire, um, when you think about the word passion. And so in marriage, sometime life happens. Let me back up. When we were dating, we can probably say that we experience passion, right? We experience this strong romantic attraction, this strong sexual desire. I remember when I was dating Emilio, he was in Qatar in the military, and I was we were far apart. We would fall asleep on the phone at night. That was like, I want to hear your voice before I fall asleep at night, you know? So that's that whole romantic attraction of passion. Over time, that can, and oftentimes life happens, that dissipates. And so you don't have that same intense feeling for that person. But it doesn't mean that you no longer loves them. It just means that there are things that has happened in life that may have taken your attention away from that romantic passion of your spouse. And so there's things you want to do to kind of keep the passion alive in the marriage, right? And that's different for each person, right? So a few of those things that we can do to kind of rekindle, to bring the passion, to reintroduce passion to our marriages, right, would be to take a memory down, take a stroll down memory lane. When we used to do this, I enjoyed it when we did this. And then start back doing some of those things, right? Start being spontaneous. You know, you get married, you work, you have kids, it's about the soccer, the basketball, the ballet. Let's break routine sometime and just do something that's, you know, spontaneous. Make date night a priority in our marriage. Have open communication. Express what your sexual desires are. Talk about it. It's very healthy to talk about what you want, a desire from your mate when it comes to romance. And of course, have sexual relations. If you be mindful of your expectations when it comes to sexual relations. I remember when I was diagnosed with breast cancer about 8 years ago, I was taking a medication and it impacted my sex drive. If you're taking mental health meds, it can impact your sex drive. Just regular physical medications can impact your sex drive. And so what are we going to do with that when I don't feel like I want to have sexual relations? That's just not there. You got to talk about that. How else can I meet your need for passion without that actual sexual relation, right? Some people want to be stimulated in the mind, have intellectual conversation with their spouse. That's another way to bring back the passion to your life. Because if we're having an intellectual conversation, I feel connected to you. That's going to bring about some passion, because I feel you can't have passion without the connection. You have to feel connected to each other for
So,
the passion to happen.
so a meaningful connection, a meaningful conversation works. Quality of time is part of,
Mhm.
the romance then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, sometimes we get, we have to take the kids to a soccer game, basketball game, and we
Mm-hmm.
get trapped into the routine, and we just put it off. It was like, oh, we'll do it later. We'll do it later. And before you know it, then the romance is not there anymore. Then you have to work on getting it back.
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm.
Learn to fall in love again. So if you did it one time, you can do it again.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yes.
And you want to have
Uh,
fun. Start, flirt with each other. Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yes. And it requires that quality of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Intentionality too, right? You got to be intentional.
yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. What inspired you to be the co-author of this beautiful book?
Well, so I knew that I had experienced tragedy in our marriage, and it had impacted me to the core, to the point where I didn't want to connect with other professionals, because I felt embarrassed and shame. And so I had not really talked about it out, other than with my close family and friends, of course. So I felt like that book, writing that book, putting it on paper, would give me a place, a platform to talk about it, and maybe even help somebody else. So that's what prompted me to write the book, write the chapter for the book anthology,
That's beautiful.
just to have some transparency.
It's beautiful that you had the strength. That's what I mean, that you had the strength to say, I'm going to be part of this beautiful book, because it's like there is like 15 different stories,
Yeah.
and I've enjoyed all of those stories, and I've been able, like I'm able, your story, my story is different, but I was
Mhm.
able to connect with your story, with your marriage, for small pieces here and there, like whenever your husband talks about the unspoken expectations. It's like, oh, we've been there. My husband and I have been there. We have been through dividing forces, where it's like, it has to be this way because this is the way I grew up. No, but it's like, I do it this way,
Yes.
because
Mhm.
this is the value that I give it the meaning to, whereas like they have to behave this, like the children have to behave this way in order for me to feel respected, or in order for me to feel loved.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, it's like I dive into the story, and I found like I connected with you all, because it's like, even though our stories is not the same,
Mm-hmm.
there is pieces in there where it's like, oh wow, it's like I understand that.
Yep.
And I learned from your story. At the end of your story, you leave a question, and I would love for our audience today to take these questions with them. And you're like, how are you going to commit? She says, what is one action you can take that shows commitment to your marriage?
Right.
So today, we're asking all of you to commit, take one action that you're going to take from now on that's going to improve your relationship with your spouse.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Another question I have from this, if you feel like answering it, is like, for anybody right now that might be going through a trauma, might be going through a hard time in the family, and they're dealing with that, that anger, that sadness, that disappointment, frustration, concerns, guilt, blame, shame, embarrassment.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
Talk about it.
Talk about it.
Don't keep it to yourself.
Okay.
Um, you know, share it with your spouse. If you have a close, non-judgmental friend that you can talk to, that gives you a listening ear, turn to your support system. If you need professional help, then seek professional help. But by all means, do not keep it to yourself, because that can lead to other debilitating things like depression, anxiety, physical manifestations of physical issues in your body. So you definitely don't want to keep it to yourself.
Express
Talk
it.
to someone about it, express it, get it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, please, express it, talk about it, because keeping it, it's not going to help us. And that's one of the things that I've learned too, is like, you just have to talk about it. You have to let it out and say, it's part of me. This happened,
Yes.
and we're going to make the best out of it.
Right. And when you don't talk about it, you alienate and you isolate yourself. And we're not meant to be alone. We're meant to be in community with other people. And so you want to share and utilize your support network, to talk about things that are going on with you. Like I said, either maybe another professional, a professional person that can help you, but don't keep it to yourself.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Uh, how can we make our marriage great?
Well, we've talked about so much today. I think some of those things came out already, but I think one thing that I would say that could really impact your marriage is treating your spouse the way that they want to be treated. I was actually first introduced to that thought from one of, I don't know if it was a book or just a taping that I was listening to with John Maxwell. He talked about the golden rule: treat others the way that you want to be treated, right? But he said the
Okay.
platinum rule, right, is to treat others how they want to be treated. And so imagine in our marriage, if we treated our spouse the way that they want to be treated, what kind of impact that could make. I think that's the beginning of making our marriage great, is really seeing our spouse, hearing them, and responding to them the way that they want us to respond to them, treat them. That will make a positive impact.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. And, sometimes we get trapped into valuing them from what they do and not for who they are.
Yeah.
So this is another one I just share, because that's one of my biggest uh, learning moments,
Mhm.
when I begin to see my husband as God's creation
Oh,
versus just seeing him as my husband. That is
yeah.
like, I know it sounds silly, but
Mhm.
it took me, maybe 15 years, 16 years in our marriage to truly be like, oh, it's like, that's right, he's God's creation. And I'm trying to
Exactly
show
right.
him.
How can I talk to God's creation like that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
Ano-
that helped me. Yeah.
yeah. Another thing too, of course, making marriage great that we didn't talk about is Oh, I just lost my train of thought. I hope it comes back to me.
It'll come back. It'll come back to you. So, what was your biggest learning from writing this beautiful book?
I learned that there are so many other couples out there that have great marriages or have good marriages, but we don't talk about it enough. So this was an opportunity for, as a matter of fact, when the visionary author James and Cynthia Green, when she approached me about the book, she said, I know that there are great marriages out there. People are going through difficult times, but guess what? They're still happily married. We can do this. So she rallied me. She, great coach. She rallied
Yeah,
me into wanting to say, hey, we went through this challenge, but we are still married. I still love him. He still loves me. And we are just as committed despite this challenge. And so um, I want us to just remember that there are some great marriages out there. And I want to be a part of telling my story of how we overcame.
that's beautiful. And I'm glad you did because now we're here.
Yeah. It came back to me about making marriage great. What can we do? Another thing that we did not talk about is personal development. Sometimes in marriages, there are things that are happening that has nothing to do with my spouse, but everything to do with me, right? So when that happens, it's my responsibility to go and take care, to fix, to examine those things so that I can show up as the best version of me in the marriage. Another thing that can help make marriage great.
I totally agree with that one because I am a result of it.
Mhm.
And yes, personal growth,
Yeah.
totally. And if you, I mean, in your very personal opinion, very, very from your life experience, what is the most needed lesson that humanity needs to learn to level up?
It's very similar to marriage, and that was having compassion and empathy for other people. The empathy to try to understand their situation that they're going through, the compassion to take action to help those that are struggling. I think when we're able to do those things, then we're better equipped to try to put an imprint on our world as far as being a just world, a fair world. That's how we can make an imprint.
Okay, I love it. Yes, compassion and have the empathy to take action. Sometimes we do have the empathy, but we don't do anything about it. So I love that you're sharing with us is like to develop, the empathy, but also the action
Yes,
with it so that
that's
we
the
can
compassion.
truly
Hmm.
create a difference.
Yes. Hmm.
Yes. And one of the now you're taking me to like not generalize. That's one of the things I'm learning. It's like do not generalize.
Hmm.
I'm a teacher right now. It's like I'm in the classroom with teenagers.
Oh,
So it's teaching me a lot.
I bet it
Yes, and here we go. Compassion,
is.
empathy,
Uh-huh.
taking action. And
Yeah.
one of my biggest one right now is like in is in the back of my mind is like, do not generalize. Do not generalize. See them as an individual
Oh,
uh,
yes. Mhm.
human being.
Yes.
And yes, like yeah, compassion is like I have to. So I don't know if I'm doing uh great service, because I usually don't
Mhm.
send them out to the VPs. Is like I forgive them. But that they're just being students. Here we go.
Yes.
Their brain's not fully developed yet. I know that. I'm aware of that.
Right.
So yes, it's like it takes it's each day is like I come home with a new story that
Yes.
they're teaching me a lot, and one of them is like practice that empathy with action, trying to guide them. But yeah, and try not to generalize. So that was just it popped up in my mouth right now. I was like, do not generalize. That's what I
Mhm.
I tell myself every day.
Yeah. See them as an individual.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
was a pleasure to have you today. Like I said, I'm grateful and joyful of your time and
Mhm.
your wisdom. Anything else you want to close with today?
No, I just really enjoy our time together, and I appreciate you for sharing
Oh,
your stage with me so that I can share a little bit about myself and my expertise. And I want our lovely listeners, viewers, to please go to the website and get their free gift, which is the marriage audit. I think you will find it very helpful in assessing your patterns in your marriage, as well as learning some communication tips. So please take advantage of that free gift.
Yes, please do so. I'll make sure that I will write down her website on the YouTube description. If you found this interview, with great content, and if you know someone that may need it, go to my YouTube channel, share the video. Please like it, and we'll see you here next week. Remember that you are the one who gives power to your talents. You're the only one that can give life to your dreams. This show can also be heard on Spanglish Network. Please check out SpanglishWorld.ca for all news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Blessings to you all, and we'll see you soon.